looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
It's that time, everybody. Another Bearcat Blitz coming your way right now, wherever you're watching us, whether it's on YouTube, your favorite podcast feed, Google, Amazon, Spotify, Apple, all the great podcast platforms. Also, Bally Sports as well. We made our debut on Bally Sports the night before the Bearcats' big drubbing 66-13 against Eastern Kentucky. Right after the Reds game, and Farm to the Show on Friday night, this past Friday night. So that was very cool to see myself and my co-host, Dominick Goodman. I'm, of course, Russ Heltman, your All Bearcats reporter. Catch allbearcats.com for all the great UC football, basketball coverage. And, of course, Dominick Goodman, my co-host, former UC wide receiver. Got to see a brand new UC wide receiver put up a big day in a limited snap diet. What an efficient, great performance out of Xavier Henderson, and a fantastic start to the season for the Bearcats. 66-13. Dominick, they were so close, man. We were just talking about it pre-show. So close to getting you to 70 points, hitting that score prediction. 66-13. They didn't even really run up the score at all, really. It was just guys out there making plays, and Scott Satterfield kind of acknowledged that and touched on that in his post-game press conference. A great example was freshman wide receiver Barry Jackson, a standout in the spring game. First catch of his career, 65-yard house call from Brady Lichtenberg. It was also his first touchdown throw of his career. He also had his first rushing touchdown. Brady Drogosh got to get in the game. We had multiple guys on defense, young guys get in the game. Dominick, as we kind of introduce you here and bring you to the show, this was basically, if you're a Bearcats fan, Bearcats alumni, and Bearcats reporter that's interested in what this team might be able to showcase throughout a season, it was basically hitting on every single cylinder, so to speak, in terms of that engine firing out there on Saturday at Nippert.
Yeah, it was great to see. Like we talked about before, those games going against EKU, kind of like one of them games, a warm-up game. Game pretty much hit somebody else, and they came out firing like what they were supposed to do. Completing the balls, running the ball well on the ground, and then when the game's up like that, that's a chance for them young guys to get a taste of them college football, especially on Saturdays. And it was good looking at the stats. A lot of young guys made some plays, had a chance to make an impact and give the coaches a chance to see what they can do with them for years to come.
Yeah, no doubt. And the fact that you had just an instant burst from this offense, I think that was my biggest thing as we kind of go through the game here. First drive, I believe 10 or 11 passes for Emory Jones were completed in this game. It was a first 5 drive scoring run for the Bearcats. I believe they scored touchdowns or field goals on every single one of their first 5 opening drives against a defense that, we need to say this, and we need to be upfront about this right here, one of the worst in the FCS last year, Dominick. They gave up 35-plus points per game. They were returning just 3 starters on that side of the football. It looked like it early on. They were discombobulated. I mean, guys were getting separation all over the place. There was that one play where Jones I think it might have been in the end of the second half or beginning of the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, where Jones ate just a brutal hit in the pocket, delivered the football to a wide open Braden Smith. It was a busted coverage down the right sideline. He went to the house basically untouched, had the dive at the end to be able to get there. But overall, just play to play, down to down with this first team offense out there. It was exactly what you'd think you'd see against an FCS opponent, but albeit a decent FCS opponent overall. And that takes me to the defense, where they force 4 turnovers in this game, multiple forced fumbles. We had Daniel Greshik. You get to see instantly, Dominick, what kind of impact that guy can have as an 8+ sack player at Utah State last year. Well, you take him out of that environment, put him into one of the best defensive lines in the country and arguably the best interior defensive line unit in the country. And it was like, I was going to ask the question, but a reporter asked it in front of me yesterday. Just what was it like, or not yesterday, on Saturday, just asking Greshik what it was like to be able to get that kind of space, be able to get that just less attention that he's usually used to. He's like, hey, fine by me. I'll be able to shoot down the line, be able to get a better one-on-one opportunity. And as a veteran player, he made a note of this. I'm going for that football when I get near the quarterback. I'm not going for the sack. And when you think about Bearcats, Black Cats defenses of the past 5 years, Dominic, they've been known for defensive line play and forcing turnovers. And we saw that to a T on Saturday.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to have when you get the turnovers, get offense a chance out there on the field. It was good to see the defense explode like that. You know, it kind of sets the tone for what's to come next. And I think with the offense doing what they did, especially in the run game, opened up the pass, did a lot of play actions where they got them deep shots. And I think that's what's gonna carry them throughout the season, as long as they can establish that run game. And I think defense, like you said, they got a line like that. It makes it easy for the linebackers to shoot the holes and plug the holes and stop the run. And then with the secondary, secondary play good. They give up too much, play solid, and it's just exciting. Even though it was against EKU, we see some teams in college football where they blow them games, they lose them games, or come off bad, but Bearcats came out ready to go and came out firing off all cylinders. So it was great to see, and I'm excited. I just can't wait to the next game now.
Yeah, man. We're going to get into that Pitt matchup a little bit. We won't preview it full-heartedly, but there is a betting line out there that I want to talk to Dominick about, a very notable betting line when you think about the history of this Bearcats program or the past 18 months of football and how well-respected they've been in terms of comparison to their opposing teams on the other side of these matchups week in and week out. But you bring up that defense and kind of continuing to tie a bow here. We'll tie a bow on this wrap up and then dive into our top takeaway from the game and get into a break before we go on the other side with star of the game. We got Ivan Pace returning to Nippert Stadium as well on Saturday. It was cool to see him there. And then we'll wrap it up with that note on the Bearcats being underdogs to Pittsburgh. But Parker McKennie comes into this game, Dominic, just all-time leader across the board at Eastern Kentucky in passing yards, just every major passing statistic. He's a preseason FCS All-American, I believe, or at least all-conference going into the season, is one of the better quarterbacks in the FCS, is a very experienced quarterback, a quarterback that you and I talked about, has taken out Bowling Green last year. Obviously, it's Bowling Green. They're in the MAC. We get it. But it's an FCS school. They took them down, or FBS school. They took them down last year, and they went to the wire with Eastern Michigan. They're non-conference in 2022. The Bearcats forced them to go 54% from the field, 177 yards, and 1 touchdown for just a 113 quarterback passer rating, or college passer rating. It was a dominant showing from the front. I thought even though Sammy Anderson went out early, and this is going to be the biggest thing that could hamper the Bearcats and really torpedo their season, if you look at a negative side of this game, is Sammy Anderson goes down. How healthy is he going to be? Are they going to be able to get him back? Coach Satterfield said it was like a head contusion. I don't know if that means concussion. Doesn't exactly say that. So we'll see how he progresses through the rest of this week. Maybe he'll be out at practice when we're able to be there for the media viewing. We'll check that out and report back later in the week if I see him. But the fact that you have him go down and you still stay steady against EKU's passing attack is solid, but you definitely just can't have too many of these injuries, too many of these nicks and bruises, because the Bearcats for sure have, I think, Power 5, top half of the Power 5 caliber starting talent across the board at almost every position on either side of the 11. But once you get to that second string and that third string, it's really where teams like the top national title contenders start to separate themselves, because they have that depth where they're able to spot them in for 2 to 3 weeks and hang on and continue to stack wins and not have those nicks and bruises hamper them fully in terms of suffering losses. Yeah,
especially with that. I mean, anything with the head injuries is something you really got to look at, and that's something that we kind of got to hope that it ain't too bad, it ain't too crazy, but always it's always the next man in. You know, they got to. That's the thing about college football. You always got to get ready for the next guy because injuries does happen, and you don't want to get in a situation where you having most of your starting guys, your top guys being injured because that can hinder the defense. And we all know that, especially with the Big 12, you can't really have a defense that don't got their full firepower because you see TCU put up 42 points and still lose, and that's what the Big 12 is all about. They're going to put up their points. And if you have a defense like we've seen on Saturday and come out and do that same thing in the Big 12 this season, it's going to be a lot of good things going on the Bearcats' way.
No doubt. As we kind of look forward and wrap up this game a little bit, the Bearcats' second largest point differential in the Big 12 this weekend. Only Oklahoma, who I believe beat Arkansas State, an FBS school, Sun Belt school. I'm pretty sure Arkansas State's in 73-0. So that freight train coming to Nippert Stadium in about 2 weeks' time here. That's going to be very, very interesting. Or 3 weeks' time, excuse me, and see how Dylan Gabriel and Brent Venables' crew can fare in the Big 12 opener on September 23rd. But moving forward, the Bearcats 66-13. Massive point differential. I think the coaching staff, the players, everyone all around controlled what they could control. I think that's the term in the way that you should frame this win. They controlled what they can control. They gave up one touchdown drive to Parker McKinney. I thought he was solid on that drive. They moved the ball really well in the quick game on that drive in the first half. And then Brian Brown adjusted. I mean, there was nothing really happening the rest of the way there. They averaged right around 4 yards per carry. They were forced to run the ball more than they could throw the ball just because, in my eyes, they just could not figure out a way to get Parker McKinney enough time to keep him away from that Bearcats pass rush. And the fact that they were able to put up 2 sacks, but put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, get a lot of action in there in the backfield. Eric Phillips leads the way PFF wise with defensive grading, 84.8 overall. He was a monster out of the Coleraine ranks in that game. He looked very good. And then offensively, to Xavier Henderson and Emory Jones both post 90 plus grades. Henderson 92.5 overall and Jones 91.5 overall. Both career high PFF grades for those players and top 12 marks in the country this past weekend at their respective positions. So very, very good outings out of them. And my top takeaway, Dominick, I think is just that. They controlled what they can control, and we got to see the comfortability and I think just the culmination of this summer offseason and player grouping, player retention, player additions. When you think about the guys that went up in the press conference earlier in this weekend, Emory Jones, Xavier Henderson, Corey Kiner, Daniel Greshik. All of those are transfers, 3 of which transferred into the program this year. So the fact that this staff, this recruiting staff, you got to, I think, give them a nice small golf clap, not big full clap, because you get an FCS small golf clap. You control what you can control. You got the job done in your first week. And now, can you do it on the road against Pittsburgh, a school with so much history? I'm looking at history right here with a guy that's got history with Pittsburgh and knows a little something about the Bearcats going on the road and winning in Pitt. So the true test coming next, Dominick, but the team controls what they can control in week 1.
Yeah, of course. That's all you can do. And the biggest thing will take off from EKU's quarterback. It just shows the difference from when you're going against a Big 12 school and going against a MAC school. It's a big difference because you got guys flying around. It's bigger, faster. You got guys that's all capable of making plays all over the board. Where you go to a school like a MAC or EKU, it's more finesse players, more of a spread out style game. Where you got Big 12 is kind of like you got to have big guys that's fast. So it's just a different style, and I think that was kind of a shock to EKU, but it's just a difference with conferences. And as far as just taking away with the transfers, I think college football has kind of switched to that now, where the transfer portal is open to get them veteran guys, where kids is going to a school and just staying there for one or 2 years to get bigger and faster. And then it's like, all right, let me go ahead and see how the transfer portal works. And then you kind of land at these schools coming in as a veteran, where you just got to come in, learn the plays, and then everything else comes comes to light because you already been through the practices. You already know what the coaches expect. You already that size. You're already fast now. It's just going out there playing around great talent.
No doubt. As we enter the halfway mark of this Bearcat Blitz, great outing for the UC football team to start the 2023 season. Second best outing point-wise in the Big 12, as they also moved up, I believe, 19 spots in ESPN's FPI, in the top 30 now of that analytical ranking. So look out for the Bearcats as they are trying to keep stacking wins. And when we come back, can Emory Jones keep stacking performances? He's never had 2 straight 80-plus PFF grades in his entire career as a quarterback. Can he continue to show consistency? Can he do it on the biggest stage, prime time in Pittsburgh, Power 5, cross-conference matchup? We'll talk about that next. Russ Heltman, Dominick Goodman. This is Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Bearcat Blitz returns right here wherever you're catching us, on podcast platforms, on YouTube, Talking Cats with Russ Heltman. You can catch all the interviews from Saturday's game and all of my interviews over the past couple of weeks at practice, plus all the Bearcat Blitz episodes with Dominick Goodman, former UC wide receiver, and I, my co-host, joining me just on the other side of the screen here. So Dominick, 66-13 win over Eastern Kentucky. Emory Jones drops 345 passing yards, no turnovers, 5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, ties a program record for overall touchdowns in a game, matches up with his former buddy at Florida, now continuing buddy at UC, with 149 receiving yards and 7 catches, both career highs for Xavier Henderson. It looked great. The connection looked strong. The talk and the on-field production from practices over the last month and a half in terms of the deep ball moved to fruition, proved to be fruitful in the actual games. Now, was it because of the defensive back play from EKU? I think a little bit, but there were moments in that game where Xavier Henderson, especially, I'm looking especially at the 30-yard reception over the middle of the field. I don't know if you caught this, Dominick, where he goes up, is tight man coverage, tight coverage on him in the middle of the field. I believe it was the cornerback or the safety. They go up at the same time, 50-50 ball. Xavier Henderson rips the ball away from the defender's grasp, or kind of right out of the defender's area, and makes the play in an athletic, showing his 6'3", 200-pound frame to set up the D. Wiggins touchdown, his lone catch for 39 yards from Emory Jones. Are these weapons and what you saw to Emory Jones enough to think that he's going to actually explode and hit his 4-star top 100 recruit potential this year? Or was it more so, I need to see it against Pitt, I need to see it against Miami, Oklahoma, I need to see it a full body of work this first month of September before I start saying Emory Jones is going to be the next great quarterback season at Cincinnati, because he can't be here too much longer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of everything. A little bit of both, for as like the having, when you got weapons like that can make plays for you as a quarterback, it makes life easier, because all you can do as a quarterback is throw the ball in the right place, right area, and they got to make the plays. And I think just in that game, Jones made a lot of good reads, got rid of the ball quick, made plays on his feet. And I think that's great to see, because he seems like a guy that can manage a game. And I think he's a guy that can, if a game does get tied to the wire where we just got to have long possession drives, 10-play drives, I think he's a guy that can manage it. And having those weapons help a lot, especially like you said, tight coverage, 50-50 ball. A lot of people don't make those plays, but he made that play, and that's reassuring to have, and that makes a quarterback confident. So I'm feeling we're gonna see a lot of more deep shots, and being comfortable with Henderson, playing with him before, and they're gonna have a connection. So I expect a lot of that of them too this season.
Dominick, did you ever, like, when you were out there making plays downfield, like an intermediate route or a deeper route, would you rather have the play be wide open? Like, would you rather have created separation on a nice move at the line, or a nice way that you were able to get out on your break and just be able to beat a guy with agility? Or did you prefer to be like a more of a Moss guy, where you could go up 50-50, you're in tight coverage, and it could be like man on man, mano a mano. I took that football from him. It's kind of like, to me, it kind of feels like hitting a 3-pointer in basketball versus dunking in basketball. Which one did you prefer in terms of the style of catching in your career?
I always like them awesome because for the simple reason, because football is it's a physical game. It's kind of a bully game. So it's like, I just caught this ball over you. You played the best coverage you can ever play, but I still caught it. So it's demoralizing to them. So I think when you just beat them off the line, and it's cool, but it's like it's wide open. And sometimes that's scary when you're wide open because it's so wide open. You just lose side of mind, side of frame. You think a touchdown, you drop it. So I think it's more better just to catch it over somebody, and it makes good for the top 10 plays.
There you go. I think I kind of agree too. Like the Xavier Henderson, the deep ball was nice when he caught the touchdown to open the game. But my personal favorite catch from the weekend was that 30-yard crossing route over the middle. That was nasty stuff and showed off his athleticism and high point catch ability. So star of the game real quick here as we kind of round out the overall body of work from this past weekend here on Bearcat Blitz. I'm your host, Russ Heltman, all Bearcats reporter. He's my co-host, Dominick Goodman, former UC wide receiver. I'm going to roll with Xavier Henderson because I mean, one of us is going to pick Jones. One of us is going to pick Henderson. I'm going to roll with Henderson because of the comfortability I think he added to this performance for Emory Jones. The fact that he came here in the second transfer window, maybe things aren't as swimming in terms of offensive production, in terms of offensive storyline, feel coming off fall camp, if Xavier Henderson did not actually make the choice to come to Cincinnati and bring his talents here as a top 20, as I mentioned when he first came here a few months back, top 20 SEC wide receiver last year. The comfortability that adds, the chemistry that adds, just the overall soundness and glue it adds to the entire offense, I think is why I'm going to go with Xavier Henderson as the top star of the game for week one. What about you, Dominick?
I'm going to go with Jones, just for the simple fact he was somebody everybody was kind of like, what's he going to do? How's he going to play? For the receivers, pretty much easy. Receiver, we just go out, run our routes, make plays. But quarterback, it's a lot of stuff going on. You're the leader, especially during before game, watching film, knowing your assignments, making sure everybody on the same page. And I felt like he had a great game, did well, managed the game, made the plays. And I think I had to give it to him just for that reason. He just had a good showing, distributed the ball out to everybody, made plays on his feet, and it made it exciting. It made the Bearcats fans eager for the Pitt game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Put a big, big gold star on that Pitt game for sure as we get ready for hopefully a shining star of a game on Saturday night as the lunch lady, Emory Jones, gets going, hopefully trying to stack up some more great cafeteria food. A courtesy of Xavier Henderson. That's not from me, Dominick. That's Mr. Henderson. He dropped that in the post-game press conference, said he was calling Emory the lunch lady after that game because he was feeding everybody. I believe it was like 7 or 8 Bearcats, at least 7 Bearcats caught passes from Jones in that game, and a lot of good stuff from Henderson. I think somebody else asked him, why was there any different feeling for Henderson when he woke up this morning? And he said, I just woke up listening to G Herbo. Felt really good. I was ready to go. I was like, let's go. I'm like, this is my kind of guy. I love the wide receivers, Dominick. I've told people that a lot this weekend. I love every position in football. I do. I love all the players, but you guys give us the most great content and have the best personalities in my eyes. So love to see it. Love to have a guy like Henderson on the roster, on the team, dropping plays like that and dropping quotes like that as well. Should be a lot of fun against Pitt, and a player that Scott Satterfield said he wished all the best and really wish he could have him on the field this year. Just obviously career timelines not working out. Ivan Pace Jr., the 2022 AAC Defensive Player of the Year, returns for game number 1. Got a nice little shout out, standing ovation on the field before kickoff. That was so cool to see. Just the fact that this is one of the most important weeks of Pace's life coming in here, with going into his first NFL season, first NFL game. There's rumors of him starting. I don't know if he's exactly number 1 on the depth chart, but he should be seeing action on Sunday in the Vikings season opener. I'm not exactly sure who they're playing in the first week of the NFL season, but very cool to see Ivan Pace Jr.'s journey culminate from undrafted, undersized player into playmaker and camp star and now active roster player on the Vikings, and then to come back and get that ovation from the crowd. It's really cool, and it's just another in the long line, along with you, Dominick, of great former Bearcats just embracing and welcoming the fact that this guy was a one-year Bearcat, played at Miami, was a player that wanted to come to UC in the first place, ended up having to go to Miami, prove himself there, comes to Cincinnati, more than proves himself there, and now going to be, hopefully, for all the UC faithful, seeing him making big plays on NFL Sundays for years to come.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Once again, shout out with Colerain. We just if you need anybody in the college listening, just come holler at Colerain. we got everything you need, But no, it's great, especially a kid from the city. Kid from Cincinnati, get a chance and opportunity to put on for the university and to do everything he did in 1 year is remarkable. It's great to see, and just to have him with that, a lot of people get in a situation where they're undrafted, where their mentals is all messed up now, where they thinking like, I'm not good enough. I don't think anybody's going to pick me up. Like, what I'm going to do. Like, a lot of stuff can go on, but he took it in stride for us. Like, I'm going to prove myself. And he went to Minnesota, proved himself time after time. And he's the guy, a hardworking kid with a good motor. And that's something you look for, especially with a defensive player. You're looking for a guy with high motor and just flat out going to go through a wall, and that's the kind of guy he is, and I think he's going to have a lot of success with the Vikings, and if he's not starting, he will be, because football's a game of injuries, so he's going to have his shot, his opportunity, even on special teams. Exactly. I think Vikings picking him up, it's a great thing, because they was in need for linebackers, so I'm just excited, and I can't wait till the season starts, and I'm going to continue following him, and hopefully we can get him on the show one day. So
yeah, get Ivan on. I know it was hard. I interviewed Ivan a couple times last year. He's more of a quiet guy, more of a reserved guy. I don't know how much of a fan he was of me asking a lot of questions, but we'll try to. Yeah, we'll definitely try to get Ivan on for sure. That'll be a lot of fun, and check in with him throughout his.
He's more of a guy like me. He just to himself and humble.
Yeah, let the actions do the talking. That's an Ivan Pace type thing. Save his energy for the field. That's what he likes to do.
Exactly.
For sure. As Pace, it's gonna be very, very cool. And the fact that he chose the Vikings, he got to choose the Vikings. Like, when you're an undrafted player, that's the number one perk, is the fact that if you're a highly sought after undrafted player, you can go through your options and say, this depth chart looks a lot nicer than this other depth chart. I can go here and have a lot more opportunities possibly, and that's what we had happen in Minnesota. You have an injury as well. Brian Asamoah gets injured in training camp. You get a lot more opportunity for Pace, and there you go. Final little note here before we say goodbye over the next couple of days and then return for our Pitt preview on Thursday. That'll also be the show that you can catch on Bally Sports this week. I believe it'll be on Friday nights at 10:30 or around 10:30, whenever the Reds can maybe push us back a little bit. I'm not sure if they're playing on Friday, but this time of year, they're usually almost always playing on Friday nights. So Pitt and UC, the old Big East foes, Dominick, running it back here. We'll dive into the history and all that in the first half of Thursday's show. We'll get Dominick's thoughts on some of those big games as well. But 7-point underdogs. That's what I want to close with, Dominick. 7-point underdogs, the Bearcats are. Fair or foul? Should the Bearcats be 7-point dogs to the Pitt Panthers, a team that I believe is ranked 28th in ESPN FPI? They just won 45-7 over, I believe it was Wofford this past weekend. But Phil Jerkovich, quarterback, it was a decent performance, threw one touchdown, had a nice game-managing type performance versus Emory Jones' top 12 in the country as performance, according to PFF, and over 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns posted up. 7-point underdogs, Dominick. What do you think about that as the Bearcats face their biggest point spread as an underdog overall since getting beat by the Alabama Crimson Tide as 13.5 underdogs in the college football playoff?
I mean, I'll take underdogs because, when you're an underdog, you got nothing to lose. So, I mean, Pitt's a great team. Coach Narduzzi, a great coach, a guy. He coached me back in when I was at UC. He was our defensive coordinator. Great guy. Great guy to be around. So I'm not surprised Pitt is doing the things they're doing over there. But Bearcat for life, and I'll take the underdogs because you got nothing to lose. And shoot, it's a game where UC can kind of show themselves again across the nation. So this is a game where if they just go out, execute, and do what the things they got to do, they will be successful.
Going to be a very fun one, and I'll get my thoughts on all that. Wanted to get Dominick's quick thoughts on the line and get that out there for our audience. As the Bearcats, wherever you could place wagers here in the state of Ohio, it is legal now. 7-point underdogs going to Pittsburgh to face the Pitt Panthers. ACC versus Big 12. This is where the true season really feels like it starts. This is where the real tests and the real questions start to get answered. Can't wait to dive into all of it more on Thursday and react to all of it on our next Monday show after the battle in the Three Rivers City. For Dominick Goodman, I am Russ Heltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network.
Second and 6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race.